07 citizens, Black here from CAsaBLACk Gaming, and I'm back with a new roadmap deep dive, which is the first roadmap update CIG has given us this year. So this will be a big one. Now, many of you have already started discussing the new big ticket items that were added, and I will briefly touch on those first, but it's all of the things that were not touched this year that might be in limbo that I really want to point out. Now remember, this is a deep dive on the roadmap, and I have been tracking the changes over time for the past 2 years now, so this video will bring up many forgotten features, and as I think you will find, is going to bring up far more questions than are answered here. Now with that said, I think we're ready to dive in. If you already know all of the new items that were added to the roadmap for the first time, which includes items for 4.0 and even the full game release 1.0, then you can skip ahead to the old stuff portion of the video. But for those who want to know the old and the new, keep watching. All right, so first up really quick is the news that 4.0 has been pushed out to the fourth quarter. Now with 3.24 taking so long in the oven to get right, this makes sense because to make the third quarter, which is technically the end of September, Pyro would have needed to have been an Evo at this point, and we might not even see it make it into Evo by September 1st, which is just only a week away. Now Evocati and the testing phase could take 2 to 3 months, so I believe they can make the end of the year deadline pretty easily, pushing it out before they go on Christmas break, but it will take as long as it needs to be, so we'll just see how it goes. The only new thing added to the release for 4.0 is the new missions Repair, Charge, and Drain, which we have seen teased on ISC already, so this was not really a big surprise, but a welcome addition. Okay, so first up are the new features added to the roadmap that were not here before, or maybe they have been renamed or repurposed, which I will distinguish as those come up. Now, a quick disclaimer is that I am merely showing you when a deliverable is scheduled to end its work. Now, that end time frame does not mean that its features complete. It could be an item that is finished by one team or one process, such as it could be from a downstream team moving upstream or vice versa. With the way CIG has changed this roadmap and combined teams, it's a little harder to guess if something is truly finished or moving on to a new process. The most reliable method to know if it's something that is really truly close to being complete is to see it appearing on ISC or discussed on the release view. Now, I still might sometimes throw out a guess on something if I feel it is almost complete, especially with ships, but overall with main features, do not get your hopes up unless you have seen it on ISC. Now, let's get to those new deliverables. So first up we have Acidic Caves, which is being worked on by the locations team, and it shows the work scheduled until mid-September. Now I like caves, but have yet to see the missions team really put good constant use to them, so let's hope that changes soon. Next we have additional player customizations, which the character art team has work scheduled until the first week of November. Now this is what they have teased since CitizenCon 2953 of more hairstyles and DNA facial scans to have broader looking characters and more customization. For the Anvil Hornet MK2s, I'm just going to lump them all here together. The vehicle teams in North America have the F7CM finishing up work mid-November, so possibly for IAE, and the other two, the Ghost and the R variant, scheduled to finish up this coming week in August. Now for those that are done in August, that does not mean they will be released then. CIG often finishes work on vehicles and staggers their release for specifically timed sales events. We might see all of these come together in IAE. Base building is a huge 1.0 ticket item that is seeing its work being done by the core gameplay pillar team and the locations team together, and they are working through the end of 2024 and beyond into 2025, as this is going to take probably another year or so. This is a 1.0 target release, we believe, but what that means and the 1.0 time frame is anyone's guess, with further clarity hopefully coming with CitizenCon this year. Might we see base building before a 1.0 release? Who knows? It would be nice, but we have seen it hinted at quite a lot this year. Now my fears, which I will put in another video, are what the hell is even 1.0 become? Because it might not be what we have all thought it should be when it was announced earlier this year. All right, so moving on, Charge Drain is being worked on by the core gameplay team with work scheduled through next week. This is part of that new addition to 4.0 with those missions that will require you to use your multi-tool to charge, drain, and repair various items, both in your ships and at outposts. Contested zones have been shown off in recent ISCs coming in Pyro and should be the start of more PvP engagement for those who desire that. The locations teams are scheduled to end this work at the end of August. All right, so let the trumpets announce. Crafting is finally on the roadmap. No other feature, in my opinion, will bring the kind of long-lasting engagement that crafting will bring to the verse. There's literally something for every playstyle, whether you're into PvP, PvE, FPS, ship combat, trading, salvaging, mining, or scanning, or what have you. For those who don't craft themselves, they can sell locations of points of interest they come across, or you can ambush players at well-known harvestable spots. Players can defeat enemies and sell goods to crafters, etc. The core gameplay team has work going into 2025 and probably beyond, so expect more news on this, possibly at CitizenCon, but I would say not coming until 2026 at the earliest. So the artist formerly known as Resource Management, while it is not new to the roadmap overall, engineering shows its schedule work completed mid-August, but I would expect it to pop back up until it releases with 4.0, and if you don't know what it is by now, there's plenty of footage from last year's CitizenCon and even throughout this year's ISCs. So, have you ever wanted to milk a space cow? I'm not saying you can, but if they do not produce blue milk, it's a major missed opportunity. Fauna quasi-grazers, which is the worst animal name ever by the way, aka space cow, shows its work scheduled to end the first week of October, and we should see them arriving in 4.0. So for all you pyro enthusiasts, and I don't mean the system, the fire extinguisher will allow you to put out fires on your ships and later on in stations, planets, etc. It does seem faster to put out a fire by opening up airlocks and doors in space, but that might not always be possible. So this rechargeable device, which saw work completed in mid-August, will be your go-to in 4.0. Forward operating bases saw their work by the locations team scheduled their end the third week of August, so pretty much now. I believe this is a more Pyro-based feature for mission hubs or gather points, etc., and I expect more work on this leading up to Pyro's release. So we all saw the cool FPS scanning during last year's CitizenCon while they showed off Squadron's progress. Now this is one item that we have not yet got our hands on, but work is still going on and scheduled to complete by mid-November. Dress for Success in Pyro thanks in part to the character art team working on Frontier clothing, with their work continuing through the first week of October. You and the NPCs of Pyro will be dressed to the nines. This was already previously on the roadmap, but that work had ended for months and has now picked up again. Item overheating was formerly known as FPS Devices Tier 1, and it shows the core gameplay team ended their scheduled work at the end of August, and I imagine we should see it coming in with Pyro since it has been in process for a while, and even mentioned on some of the ISCs this past year. Light Amplification Scopes, or Ghetto Night Vision might be a better label for it since it's more of a trick using the lighting system than a full-on night vision, but should still do the job it's intended to do, started its work in May 2024 and shows that scheduled work ended the first week of August. The Mission System Refactor sounds similar to something on the roadmap from last year, which was the Mission Manager app, but they're different things. This system, with its work scheduled until the second week of October, will help missions work better through server meshing and persistence, and is one of the most important key features that Pyro needs. So those new missions that were added to 4.0 this week, the Repair, Charge, and Drain, sees the core gameplay team scheduled to work on those through the end of August and is fully expected to be coming with 4.0, with Elliot from the missions team stating on Twitter he believes that these will be fun and ties things together pretty nicely. So what do caves need more of? Apparently rocks. Rock caves were added to the roadmap, having been worked on in 2023 under a caves archetype heading, originally where various themed caves would come into the verse. The previously mentioned acidic caves was another one of those. Anyway, the work on rock caves is scheduled by the locations team to end mid-September. And what else do caves need more of? Sand. Sand caves are also on the roadmap with their own title and also shows their work being scheduled to end mid-September. Now I promise no more cave jokes. This next one isn't really new, but it is a new title edition, and that is Squadron 42 Polishing. Its work can be expected to go until its release, which if every Star Citizen content creator is right, it's expected 2025. One thing I have not heard complained about much are the many storage access kiosks around Stanton. They are everywhere, even in some places that detracts from some of the beauty, such as on Orison. Anyway, those storage access eyesores started their work in January 2024 and shows completed in May of 2024. Their functionality is included in the upcoming 324 release, but I wish their placement could be a bit more thoughtful. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Of course, we have 6 unannounced ships. 5 of them show their work scheduled to end around November 1st, with another going into January 2025. Now for these, I want to put out a bit of a warning. Some of this ending work could just be concept art, which is something CIG does quite a bit with the ship sale coming up. It looks like a ship will be completed in time for a sale, but really it's just fancy artwork that gets you to click that buy now button. We will not be seeing 5 straight to flyable unannounced ships for IAE. Okay, and that's it for the new additions. Now, if you're feeling hyped about what's to come and don't want to lose that hopium buzz, then stop the video now. For those of you who stay, I'm about to talk about all of the items that we did not receive an update on, which means they are not currently being worked on, which you can also compare these to the last and even next monthly report for verification that your much sought after feature or ship is not on the schedule. Keep your hankies ready. Actor Status Tier 2 is a feature that dealt with everything from personal hygiene to cybernetic limbs. It was last worked on mid-October of 2023 and has sadly not returned. So this next one really hurts and has been on my mind most of this year, but after seeing some progress on ISCs in 2023 for Bounty Hunting Tier 2, it seems to have fallen into dev limbo. It was scheduled to have been worked on until mid-December 2023, but since we saw nothing on it for last year's CitizenCon, I believe it was probably stopped before then. This is probably my biggest letdown of old features that are missing, but I believe it needs other systems in place for proper tracking and NPC interactions that will hopefully come with server meshing, so let's hope it pops back up next year. Cutting Tier 2 is something that was worked on until mid-October of 2023. I think its work for Squadron is done, but for the PU it might be a while before we see it, or it's waiting on Maelstrom's work, which we'll talk about later. Incendiary ammo was one of the many ammo types that was worked on last year, but that did not carry over into 2024. There will be some more I'll discuss in a moment. New interdiction scenarios is something that was worked on until mid-November 2023, but that we have not heard about since then, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not noticed any of them appearing in 323 or 324. Origin G12 is another long-awaited vehicle that I actually had to double check to make sure it wasn't out yet, and it doesn't appear to be so, but it has constantly been delayed and nothing in terms of progress since the end of 2023. Persistent Habs had a whole ISC episode dedicated to it in early to mid 2023, but then it was not even mentioned at CitizenCon, and instead they jumped straight into player bases, which if I'm being honest, I'm happy for that change. But these Habs will also be a welcome addition, and hopefully once the server tech that goes into our persistent hangars is complete, they can jump back on those Habs. Physical damage and breakability, or better known as Maelstrom, is a huge feature that has not seen work on it since mid-August of last year. This system will help not only buildings break apart like we've seen in the 2 main showcase videos at CitizenCon last year, but also dictate how ships will break apart for better salvaging, and yet there's been no movement for a year now. I'm thinking what they showed off at CitizenCon is all they have completed as of now. Plasma ammo is another ammo that has not seen its status change since August 2023. Quantum simulation is another huge feature that has not seen any movement since the 3rd week of September 2023. This might be another system on the back burner until server meshing is released and in place with 4.0. The Rastar tool has not had any work since the 2nd week of September 2023. Now it might be completed, but I'd imagine there is more work coming with it being a vital tool for base building as well as the many outposts coming, and with their pipelines always improving, this tool might see more work down the road, so I'll keep an ear to the ground. Refinery ships was something being seriously worked on throughout 2023 until the end of November, and has since not been mentioned. Now, according to those monthly reports about this feature, it was more of a planning period on how it would work on those ships. So with those discussions over, this might be a feature that will just move on to specific ships. The RSI Apollo, which is the ship so many of us have been waiting on, could still be in the wings, but even a recent Star Citizen Live with some of the ship team, Jared mentioned that if the ship we're working on was not being mentioned, then it was not currently being worked on. So any hope that the work that started up again last year, that ended mid-December 2023, is still ongoing, is pretty much gone again. Now, it does not mean it won't be worked on once the Polaris is finished, since they did say they would like to knock out several RSI ships down after the Polaris, but until we see that movement, the Apollo is still dead in space. Seated item handling is one of those small quality of life features that can easily fall by the wayside, and that is exactly what happened with it. This feature would allow a passenger or driver to shoot while they're seated. Its work went through mid-August 2023 and has not been heard or seen from since. Somebody put out a wellness check on that one, please. Sliding has not made it into the verse yet, right? Like it hasn't. It feels like it did since we did see it in CitizenCon, and then we got better zero gravity movement, but something tells me we don't have sliding yet, or if we do, I've just missed it, so I apologize. Oh well, regardless, there's been nothing on it since mid-October of 2023. Space Mines is another ammo type that has not seen movement since early March of 2023. Now I know the ship that drops them is not in production, but perhaps people could drop them by hand. I know some folks would find some uses for them even if a ship cannot lay them just yet. So another summer is coming to an end, and yet another summer without swimming. Swimming Tier 0 has not been worked on since mid-October 2023, and I guess since we can walk underwater, there's no hurry. Virtual AI service is another part of Quanta. I would say this controls the AI for missions, but it has also not been worked on since mid-August of 2023, and I wouldn't expect it to just yet. Alright, and so that's going to do it for this roadmap deep dive. Now, it was nice to finally get something from CIG, even if that something did include 18 items that have not been worked on for going on a year now or more. I think we have somewhat of a good idea of what we're getting between now and the end of this year, but I can say that there has not been a lot of newsworthy new things to discuss at all this year. Just coverage of what we saw at last year's CitizenCon, and even then we're still waiting on a lot of those things to come out. Let's talk about these changes and more over on my Discord channel with that link below or in the comments. If you enjoy my content, then please do all of the things that can help a small channel grow. Anyway, I've been Black. Thank you for watching, and keep it positive as you traverse the verse, citizens.